to the Property Unleashed podcast with me, Mark Fitzgerald. And today I am joined by, I'm going to say a guest, but a friend as well, Stuart Bowker, who was last on the podcast all the way back on episode 69. So if you haven't heard that one, do go back and listen to it. Stuart's a fantastic guy. He's a fitness fanatic, but he also has a wonderful family, and he wanted to build and is building a property portfolio for himself alongside his full-time job using the rent-to-rent strategy. And we will talk more about that as we go on. But welcome back to the show, Stuart. It's great to have you on, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark. How are you? Okay?
I'm very well. All the better for seeing you, my friend. All the better for seeing you. So, Stuart, for people that haven't heard of you before, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, I operate up in Yorkshire. I've been growing the business now over a couple of years, probably. It is about consistently actioning the things that make the difference for the business. But I operate primarily in Doncaster and York. So a little bit in South Yorkshire, a little bit in North Yorkshire. But those two areas are within 25 minutes of where I live. So, it's easy to manage.
No, that's great. That's great. So, of course, you do have a busy full-time job.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
have a busy family life as well, which is great. And of course, you're not shy about obviously investing in yourself, getting the knowledge so that you can take the right actions out there. And of course, I met you initially when I was coaching for another rent-to-rent service provider. And you join there to learn about rent-to-rent and everything and get the knowledge, which is always, always great. But of course, even after that, it can be quite a lonely journey, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Yeah, you are a one-man band to begin with. You have to be the jack of all trades and really trying to be the master of at least two or three of those to be able to see for yourself what your path is going to be in growing that business. There's no getting away from it. It's a lot to deal with. But of course, the training, support, there's more than just your group that people can join. But those support groups that are out there, whether it's a PIN, a Progressive, whoever it may be, just to be able to share experience makes you feel as though you're not out there on your own. And I know I contribute to your Facebook group, and I've picked up with people on the Messenger away from that. And it's just good to be able to share knowledge and experience with people. And even though you're not maybe contributing to their success, at least you're helping them get through some of their blockers. So, those communities and working within a framework of a training program and then helping people helps you with your own knowledge, but it is really good to just keep your sanity, really.
Yeah. Well, I actually think you do yourself a misjustice there, mate, because I see your comments in our private Facebook group and they're great. You're inspiring others, you're leading others. And that's what my community that I put together, of course, and you were very much a part of that when we began. You came onto the first sort of intake of the rent-to-rent business builder, and it was great to see you sort of, you already had the basic knowledges and stuff like that, but we tweaked a few things, we worked together, and within 4 weeks of joining, you had cracked your first deal, which was 3 properties from one landlord, which was brilliant. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I've been marketing for a long time, and it is that consistency. And really, sometimes you don't know whether you're getting the deals through your networks or through the marketing that's direct. And I would say probably now had success in both ways. Some that I could say, yeah, that's definitely through direct marketing, and others that I think probably in reality is through network, but the people that you're speaking to go, oh yeah, I've seen your name, I know who you are because I've had your letters. And actually, hopefully I'm not cursing myself, but you have very few people that will come back to you and say, take me off your list, I don't want to receive marketing. So don't feel as though you're going to get a lot of flack by people getting the letters. and in some areas they get lots of letters from different people. So look, if they want to contact you, they will. If they feel like, oh, I'll save that for later, then they will. There's very few that are saying, no, I don't want to hear from you. So yeah, combination of good networking, having a network, of course you're part of mine, but also just being consistent really. You will get the calls, you will have people contact you and say, oh, I've heard you can do something for me. It's not always that you can, but often you'll be able to give them at least a steer in the right direction with things that they could do to help their own situation sometimes.
And of course, like I say, you've been with me from the beginning of when I started mine, and you've very much stayed a part of the community, and you still are, as I say, an instrumental part of the community. I see you popping up, and like I said before, giving a bit of support to people, and that's what the community is all about for me. When I put together what I was doing, I knew it was lonely. I had a lonely journey myself, and as I say, I was connected to other communities as well, because it's nice to be a part of something where, even if everybody's trying to do very similar things to you, normally it's in different areas, but you can support each other, you can push each other forward. So I know that you think, you feel the same way as me, that it needs to be like that to succeed. You need to put yourself in that right environment to push yourself forward, but also to be able to get the answers to the questions that you get. Because a lot of the times, you'll know yourself here, finding the deals is actually the easy part. It's actually managing the properties. It's putting the systems in place. It's systemizing a business. Now, I've touched on this a couple of times. You've done this alongside a full-time job, a busy man, busy with your family, got lovely daughters and everything, and a wife and stuff like that. How do you manage to actually balance everything and get everything done?
Yeah, so it's okay. The job that I do, I'm quite lucky in that it's not a massive leap from what I do as a day job.
Yeah.
I work with commercial property that's rented for long term, so it's not a massive leap from what I do day to day to be able to use some of those skills. But you know what? I wouldn't say that particularly helps me. It just gives you the confidence that you know what you're doing. But the good thing with my role is it's fairly flexible in as much as I'm in control of my own diary. So I can do other things alongside. But equally, some of the negatives are that you can find that both the business and work can cross over, and I don't work ridiculous hours. That's not where I'm coming from at all. But I know that sometimes I have to sacrifice an evening into my day job because I might have taken an hour or two in a day to deal with my own business. So you just have to be honest with yourself and really your employer as to what you're doing. And look, I travel past the sites that I look after on a regular basis, whether I go in there or not. So it's not as though I'm going out of my way massively. And some of why I'm in the areas that I am is for exactly that reason. I could have said, oh, I'll focus on Leeds instead. Massive HMO register over there. But I don't go anywhere near Leeds, even though it's only a 20-minute journey. I don't go anywhere near Leeds on any kind of regular basis. And I thought to myself, well, I'm either going to be stealing time from work, the day job, that wouldn't be fair, or I'd have too much of it's inconvenient for me to actually deal with any issues. So that's how I've done it. I've been realistic and thought, well, actually, Leeds has got a massive HMO register that I could market to, but I wouldn't be able to fit that in alongside the journeys that I do, and that's the reality of it, isn't it? You have to make it work for you, and if you are in a full-time job, be honest with your employer about what it is that you're doing. Another benefit I have actually that spills over into my day job is I deal with a lot of people where it is their own business. The people who are renting the premises, it's their own business within there. And being able to at least share a little bit of experience of, well, I have my own business as well. They think, oh, actually, you do know some of the pressure. It does help conversation sometimes. That's a benefit that's perhaps not easy for everybody to get, but it helps with me in my day job as well.
It's good. And like you say, it's about being honest in what you're doing. But of course,
yeah,
I mean, you're up to...
I've never hidden it from anybody. They absolutely know what I do alongside the job that I do for them.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's great. That's great. And of course, you're up to 5 properties now in your portfolio. And as I say, time wise, looking at what you're doing, because obviously you're balancing a lot. You're balancing, as a lot of people are, and there'd be a lot of people listening to this that say, I can't get into the property, I can't do the rent to rent, I haven't got time. It's about having that balance. Like you say, it's about maybe short-term sacrifice as well for a long-term gain. It's putting in the hours when you need to put in the hours, but equally to that, making sure that your family aren't neglected, but making sure that your employee who keeps the lights on at the end of the day for you isn't neglected either. And it can be done, though, can it? That balance can be found.
Absolutely, it can, yeah. Look, I might have some flexibility in my calendar, but it's still a full calendar. Still have to meet, obligations that are placed upon us by, adjudicators and outside bodies that mean I have to do certain things in my job and hit those targets. So there's no escaping that. There's no denying that I've got more than one paymaster beyond actually, the company that I work for. I've got to tick boxes on compliance with attending meetings and so on to satisfy that. So there's no escaping that. So looking at the balance and the long term, I know a lot of people's goal is that they can leave their day job behind, and ultimately that's mine as well. Mm-hmm. But really looking at this way of working with property. It is a cash flow business. It takes management. That's what it is, really. It's not investment. You're not investing money in the property. You might, do maintenance and so on, but you know where I'm coming from. Chunks of money that you're going to rest in that property. That doesn't happen. You are managing the asset for somebody and taking your profit, but it's cash flow business with a goal to invest for yourself and for the long-term benefit of your family. And I know that's what you're doing, Mark. So getting away from my day job, just so that I can work full-time in my rent-to-rent business. Yes, that's what I want to do, but just exchanging one salary for having a job that's my own, it's a balance really of, okay, well, what do I really want that property business to do? I want it to buy assets. And if I have to stay in my day job to allow it to do that sooner, then so be it. If I then get to a point where I can leave the day job and go faster with property, then I would do that also. I know for sure I could go faster if I had time in the working day that I could give over to seeing agents and so on. I don't really have that time because, as we've already picked up, I've got 2 jobs on the go. So then fitting that in as well is difficult. So I could have grown faster just by doing those other activities that are recommended in your training. I just can't do enough of it. But you also have to realise what your end goal is, and that end goal is I want to have assets for the family, for the long term, and sacrificing my job to say, oh yeah, I work full time in property. That doesn't get me to that goal. So you really have to understand what you're trying to do and why.
I think so. I think that's brilliant and well put as well, because a lot of people want to do rent to rent because they want to get out of the day job. They want to sack the boss. But if you can actually stay in the day job and balance it, like you say, at the end of the day, it's all about what it is you want. I want to own assets. So I didn't get into rent to manage other people's properties, although that's what we do. That is a byproduct of doing a good job for them. But the byproduct is I can now buy properties for myself. Now, I've got it to a stage where I'm big enough that I've systemized it. I've got people doing most of the day work for me, and I'm out doing other deals and stuff like that. But of course, with your good self as well, is you've got this pot of money now building up alongside your life, your day job, and everything, and it gives you that peace of mind, doesn't it? Because at the end of the day, we've all had jobs, we've all worked for different companies, and we are all realistically just a number. We are a number. We are absolutely a cog, and that cog can be replaced at any time. So it's having that in the background as well. The economy tanks, and all of a sudden they're doing cutbacks and everything. Now, I know that you do a very good job and stuff like that. But if a business is poorly managed by the directors or whatever, or goes under, or you just get made redundant, you've got something to fall back on, and it's that cushion, isn't it, as well? That helps you sleep at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, it's. I'm probably another couple of away from being totally insulated from what might happen with a business that I work for, but I'll just keep on doing, sticking to the knitting, just keep on carrying on with the things that I'm doing, and that'll get me there. But I've still got income at the moment. And I know we've spoken in the past where you challenged me as to, well, are you too comfortable? And it could be that I am, but actually, big picture, I know I've got a limited lifespan in the job, partly because it's forever changing as an industry. And it's not that I'm looking over my shoulder and thinking somebody's got me on their list to leave the business. It is that bit of, look, everybody has their time with the company. And if, let's say the company I work for starts to get broken up or sold off, or, get a new boss. Look, I've had 4 bosses in the last 6 months.
Right.
If your face doesn't fit, or you kind of rub up with somebody the wrong way, before you know it, you've not got the support of the company, and you're thinking, oh, well, what am I going to do now? And that happens to a lot of people. 4 bosses in 6 months. There's genuine reasons for that. There was a little bit of sickness and things like that were to the people I work for, and people were covering. But ultimately, you think, crikey, I could have had 3 different bosses for a variety of different reasons. And if one of those thinks that I'm not the right guy for them, and they think, oh, I'll bring in my own person, you can find yourself on the wrong end of that, can't you? And it does happen.
Exactly right. So it's good to have that cushion. So you got your first 3 deals through, so to speak, your network. You were marketing. I know for a fact you were fully out there. You were engaged because, I was lucky enough to be able to help and support you with that. You got your next 2 deals in a completely different area, didn't you? So a lot of the times right. we sort of get into one area and we grow and build there. But because you're in a pretty good area where you're between different sort of towns and cities and things like that. So the next 2 deals, which obviously we weren't spoken about in the last podcast that you've got since then, how did they come about?
Yeah, they were absolutely direct mail.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I've taken a couple of different approaches to the letters over time, and just developed really because I send them regularly. Every month they go out. I really have started to put a lot more information in the letter that is actually of use to the recipient, rather than it just being here's my service, will you take that service, and this is sales. I really try and be the beacon where people think, oh, actually this guy is helping me ask the right questions, or at least review the right things on a month-by-month basis. And he's giving me that info, but actually he's then saying, if you just want me to look after it for you, then I will. So there's obviously a bit of steak and sizzle in those letters, because it doesn't take much for me to put that together. Take extracts from different articles, make sure that I stay on top of different things that come to me through email and so on. So it's not all my original writing. It's adapted and put together to read well in essentially a sales letter. But by drawing those facts, information, things that are going on, you'll know yourself, Mark, there's a lot of property investors who they aren't landlords, they are a property investor, and they don't want to deal with the day-to-day of dealing with tenants, dealing with gas certificates, electric certificates. They don't want to deal with all of that, and why should they? And that's what I'm there to help them with. So really, sometimes highlighting, here's a long list of all the other stuff you're going to have to deal with now. They go, blimey, yeah, I don't want to deal with that actually. And here's a beacon that's shining to me. I can pick that up for you. So it does get good calls, but you're always having to think about what is the itch that I'm scratching for people as well, because you are selling. It's not just about information, but I'd say it's probably a transactional letter rather than just a, here you go, here's my service. Do you want to guaranteed rent?
No, I mean, it is about their pain point. It's not about us. And I remember, I wonder if you remember, we had the discussion where you were saying, I've sent you these letters and stuff, but I'm not getting a lot of traction. And I just said to you, can you read your letter to me? And when we did it, and a lot of it was about you, which was obviously selling your services and stuff like that, wasn't it? So we had this discussion to say, no, well, just tweak a few things and make it about them more. And now you've taken that to another extreme, which I take my hat off to you, which is obviously giving them updates on the market and things. Now that is genius, absolutely brilliant stuff. And of course, you find traction with it because your letter or your marketing, as I say to everybody, has to resonate with who's picking up that marketing. If it doesn't, if it's all about you or it's all about me, people don't care. People don't care about us. Unfortunately, nobody cares about you apart from yourself. So people are only looking out for themselves. Now, if you've got, facts, figures, you've got the local market, how it's working, what's updating, and all those sort of different things, as long as it's done in a broken down sort of manner where it's digestible, certain people are really going to react well to that. So that is that, do you think, the key point to really helping you get these next couple of deals?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Get more regular calls now with that approach, and you know what? I think in some ways it keeps me sharp as well. In that I'm across the issues and maintaining that knowledge, because when you've been doing it a while, and I've not been handling it as long as you have, when you've been doing it a while, it's quite a dry topic, isn't it? It's when you're first starting out, and I've used this phrase before with people, it is like drinking out of a fireman's hose. It's all coming at you really quickly. As well as that routine, you do find that there's plenty of systems out there that fill some of the gaps for you. So I use GoTenant, for example. So as long as I load everything in and put an expiry date against certificates, it sends me a little warning, says, oh, this is running out. I pick the phone up to my guys who do my gas checks, and that's it. It doesn't need any more than that. I think if you were using paper files, it'd probably be a bit harder to keep track of things. But the systems are there to make that compliance and management a lot easier. And also, GoTenant have all the relevant up-to-date documents that you need to issue with your agreement. They have those already there. So, for example, you can't miss the right to rent documentation because it prompts you to do it. There's also the prompts around checking, making sure that you're shielding the fire alarms and so on. So there's all those things that actually that system makes sure you can't make a mistake. So as long as you do an advert for GoTenant, it's a really simple system to use, and the price is great. It's really reasonable. I think it's something like, because I just pay it, I think it's £19 flat rate, and then it's a pound a room after that. Might even be slightly better than that, but yeah, it's for nothing really. Because keeping you compliant, all you need to do is follow the prompt of, yes, do that. But it's quite a dry topic when you're managing properties over a long period of time. So doing the newsletters the way that I do keeps me abreast of changes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a massive fan of GoTenant, and I recommend that highly to anybody because it just works. It's seamless, it's easy, and it's cost effective. I think actually now, from when we started it, it is actually a bit more expensive now, but it's still worth every penny. You can get 14 days or 13 days trial. So, you know, at the end of the day, for that sort of money, for what it does, is brilliant. And
well, obviously I see my invoice come through every month. And it's for nothing really. It's for nothing.
So the last two properties then that you've taken on, what are they at the moment? And what sort of tenants are you having?
Yeah, so the students actually. So I would say that the ones in Doncaster are probably blue collar professionals, and what I mean there is they're all working, but they tend not to be office jobs. There's a lot of warehousing and distribution around Doncaster, and a high number of the tenants work in that. Although I have actually, I have like a web designer, I've got a pilot, I've got other people as well that are in there. But overall, I'd say that was the main market that you've got because that's the industry that's there.
Yeah.
Now, I deliberately targeted York, one because of how nearby it is. My daughter is actually a student in York, although she doesn't live in student accommodation. She is a student over there. So it's right. I'd like to be in a position where I could be managing property over there that maybe she wants to live in York, she can. And I will put her in charge of looking after one of the houses. Gives her some experience. But she's a bit of a home bird, so she's still living at home. But it was that bit of spreading the tenant types. So there's if I had a professional HMO over there, it would be highly likely that people would not be in distribution. They'd be more likely a white collar young professional because that's the jobs that are in York. But there's two universities in York. There's the University and there is St John's University. One's right in the middle of town and the other one's just on the edge. I deal with the students that live at the one at the edge, so York University rather than St John's. A lot of accommodation out that way for them, but basically, I deal with those students. They are really academic. There's not a lot of sports studies students or anything like that out there. They're all chemistry, geography, really clever people. So I don't have much trouble with wild parties. Touch wood.
Good.
So looking after those properties is, you look at it and you think, oh, students, they'll break the place up. No, they don't. They're all from good households, aren't they? They're all there for a reason, and that reason isn't partying. There's no more damage or maintenance than anywhere else. You just get the daft calls about, this tap's not working anymore. Let's look in the cupboard. Oh yeah, you've managed to turn off the stop tap with that box that you put under the sink. It's those kind of things that they can't work through the stuff that's just life experience quite as well as older tenants who are working people. They've not had that experience.
And did you have to, obviously the old way of doing rent to rent was, you get a dilapidated property, you spend a fortune on it, you put it up and you could obviously put the rents and stuff like that up. That's not something I try and show and teach and things. But taking on these properties, student properties do tend to get a little bit more wear and tear because they're not always regularly cleaned and things when you're taking them on and stuff like that. So have you had to put any sort of outlay into them?
No, I haven't. Just following that same thread really of I don't want to be setting myself up to put it all right and then keep it that way. I just don't want to do that. So I've taken on good sites and kept up to the maintenance. I never thought twice really. I send a cleaner in every other week, just as I do with my normal HMOs. I suppose it's an overhead that I might be able to duck away from and say, look, it's your responsibility, guys. But actually, no, I send a cleaner in just like I do with the professional ones. Why not? It's it's just a model, and I've just applied it the same everywhere.
Exactly. Well, it's a good idea because not only that, that they can notify you if they see a problem. So if there's a maintenance problem or something like that, you can get on it quickly, which is great. It keeps the asset nice for the landlords, and also makes the place nicer for students. At the end of the day, HMO tenants aren't always the cleanest, sort of most tidy tenants anyway. And of course, students add that to, being young, just being free, it can get a bit messy. So if they understand that people are going to be around tidying or cleaning the areas, they've got to keep the clutter down. Otherwise, a cleaner can't clean, can they?
Yeah, that's right. Look, the bathrooms are always the friction point because student houses, I've noticed, they're not all en suite, obviously. They don't have quite the same demands potentially as other residents. Make sure the bathrooms are done by the cleaner, and also ensure that there's a big supply of easy clean stuff for the residents to use themselves. So it's like, well, if you can keep on top of it, reduces the friction, but also I've got a cleaner coming in and picking up on it as well. Of course, cleaner doesn't have a massive job because the tenants have done their bit along the way.
That's good. Well, if you've got that in place, then that's excellent. So what are your targets then for, the rest of this year, so to speak, going forward? What are you looking at achieving? What are you looking at doing?
So I'd like to think that I can pick up another 3 really over in York by the end of the year. And there is a bit of seasonality really, because I know that the actual agents that are managing the properties, they have windows that they allow the owners to give them notice that they don't want them to do it anymore. So there's having that reality check that actually it might be a little bit quiet at the moment, but the notice periods are starting to come towards an end now. But yeah, you just have to work with what you've got, don't you? I'm not against having professional HMOs in York either. The model works as a model. So yeah, I'm not against doing that also over there. But yeah, if I can get another 3 before the end of this calendar year, even at that, I think I'd be going slow with the amount of work that I put in. But yeah, 3 to 5 really by the end of this year.
Brilliant. I love that target. So what does Stuart do for fun? Because I saw recently that you did your own little Tour de France, so to speak, didn't you? I know you like your cycling and things. So tell us a little bit about that. I know you're passionate about this.
Well, I'm building up actually, Mark, to so we just had the London Marathon recently, and if you imagine you've got the elite riders at the marathon, the elite runners at the marathon, then you've got your serious fun runners, and then you've got the guys running around in the rhinoceros suit. So I'm riding an event at the start of July where essentially you ride one stage of the France a week before the professionals ride it. And there are in that the elite runners. I'd like to think I'm a bit ahead of the guys that are the rhinoceros suit runners. So yeah, just aiming to be really fit for that, to be honest. And it's 10 weeks away. I know that because I've got my countdown and my training plan and everything else. Lose a little bit of weight, not much. I'm under 11 stone as it is, but if I can get another good half stone off, that'd be good, because you're just carrying it over the mountains otherwise. But yeah, I've got that coming up in July.
Nice.
You just have the little markers along the way, doing your own rides and your training. So looking forward to that, and then onwards from there.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, you got to have something. I mean, we did 75 hard together as well, didn't we, a couple of years ago? And I know you've done it a few times since as well. But it's still those disciplines, isn't it? Daily disciplines that help you to be able to get out there, inspire yourself at the end of the day. It's
talking about the discipline there, Mark. I've got a 10-week training program that's already drawn out. So all I have to do each week is pick it up, say, okay, that's what I'm doing on each of these days. That's my rest day. That's what I'm going to do stretches-wise to support it. But it's no different than the program you've got for building your business. Your business builder is, do these things. The only thing you don't have is, I've got 10 weeks of knowing exactly what I'm doing on every day. But with a business builder, if you get a call, that changes your day. If you've got a tenant you need to check in, that might change your day. But ultimately, big picture, this is my program for the year, and this is what I have to do action-wise to get me outcome. I just had that over 10 weeks for riding over some mountains in the Alps. It's just having discipline, a plan, and sticking to it. Write it down, understand what you need to do step by step to get there. And sometimes, like at the minute, my legs are hurting a bit, no getting away from that, but I know it'll pass. It's the same with starting a business. You're going to have a little bit of pain on the way. You'll feel like, oh my God, I've taken on too much. But actually, you'll overcome those things with your plan. You just have to stick to it and have that discipline.
Exactly. And it's just the daily disciplines, being consistent and persistent in your approach and approaching it in the right manner. And I just referring back, obviously, to the Rent to Rent Business Builder program, my training program. A lot of people say to me, how long is it? How long does it last? And everything. You've been there. You were a founding member, so to speak. And you're still in it now, aren't you? At the end of the day, so you're still a part of the community. You've still got access to the training and things, and it's something you can refer back to, even if you've just sort of forgotten something, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like, why would you not? Why would you not stay in it? I've seen different people join over time, and I've of course answered similar questions over time. Of course you do, but ultimately. They're starting their journey, X Factor journey there. They're starting their journey, and you will answer the same questions again and again. Look, there's been occasion where, and this might seem a little bit harsh, where I have just said, look, this is in training. Either you've not got to it yet, or you need to review it. This is in the training, which the folks who might not be getting into that routine of finding out the answers for themselves and just ask it, I'll say to them, well, it's in the training. It's already there for you, because it is, and they get the definitive answer in that way. But I'm quite happy having conversation with people as well about, well, what do you think about this? And I said, well, these are things I do, and from my commercial background, these are the things that we think about when we're looking at this kind of deal. And look, it all comes down to structuring a deal that works for everybody. And I've got some scope in my day job to do that. Of course, I've got to satisfy an employer, but in my own work, I can structure the deal however it works for me and the landlord. I know you say it has to be a win-win, and it absolutely does. But just structure it in whatever way gets you to both where you need to be.
That's it. I mean, there's never one deal is never normally the same with a landlord. There's always little tweaks. Everybody's different, aren't they? Everybody's looking for different things, and sometimes. Particularly when people are starting out, they overthink things. They're like, well, what happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? And half the time I'm saying, and you probably say the same, That's never happened to me. I've been doing this,
Yeah,
a long time now. It's not happened. But I used to think the same, because we're always thinking, well, what happens if they say this or they do this or they do that? So it is a case of we can deal with it. And that's what I say to people. If you want the training product, you want the roadmap to follow the blueprint, to not only find deals, but also to systemize a rent-to-rent business that doesn't enslave you, then stay connected in the community as well. Because then when you are asked those questions, you can just ask us, and people who are ahead of you that are in the community will say, that doesn't happen. Or I've had that actually. And I tell you what, all you got to do is this. And it puts your mind at rest, doesn't it?
Yeah. And look, it's going to my day job again. I'll speak to my boss, and brilliant operator, lady who's been in the industry a long time, and you would think has seen just about everything. And I'll speak to her and I'll say, "Oh, Claire, I've just had this come up," and she'll be like, "Oh, right, okay." She says, "I've never had that come up either, even after 30 years. We're going to have to speak to somebody else within the business." So it's going to be the same with us. No matter how many deals you do, no matter how many people you deal with, something will come up that others haven't seen either, and they're going to reach out to their networks and go, "What do you think about this?" It keeps it exciting anyway.
No, it's good. It's good. Well, I'm always conscious of your time, my friend, and I do a quick fire round. Now, you've done it once before, but I'm always interested in a few things. And one of them is, what books have you read recently that you recommend or that you're reading now?
So, I listen to your podcast all the time, Mark. I never miss an episode, and it's funny how you were mentioning the other week how you go back to books. I actually don't have any new books that I've added really to my range. I'd say I have read in the interim since we spoke last. There's the high performance book which Jake Humphrey has written.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two versions. There's one that's a companion to you using it as a journal, and that's the one that I've read and I am using on an ongoing basis. But I go back to the 12-week year often, and I've been rereading that. That's one where I think probably because of the balance that I've got of having to do more than one thing, that 12-week year is something that I always get something out of. That's the one that I reread again and again. So yeah, the Jake Humphrey Peak Performance and 12-week year.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And they've got a good podcast as well, haven't they? The high performance one that goes with the book and stuff. So
I'm aware that they have, but I don't listen to it.
Have you not? They got a lot of famous, sports personalities and stuff like that. I've listened to that. It's good. I have read their book as well. I remember you posted a picture of the journal, so it's good to know that you're getting good value from it, because journaling is massively important, but it is also something that is very easy to forget. I'm quite an avid journaler, but even I miss days and stuff like that. But it's about not beating yourself up. You will miss days. Life does get in the way, but just make sure that you've still got those habits there and you don't forget about it. I always say, if I do something wrong, if I'm on a diet or I'm trying to do something, if I miss a day, I try not to miss 2 days. If I miss 2 days, third day, it's definitely got to stop. And if you can force yourself to do that sort of thing and whatever it is you're trying to do, you'll find that you'll move forward in leaps and bounds, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So that basically just leaves me to say thank you ever so much for joining us today. It's fantastic to see your successes. I know it's hard. It is hard for everybody at the end of the day, but you're battling through, and it's always good to chat to you, my friend. Equally to that, if anybody sort of sat on the fence thinking about getting into rent-to-rent, building their own business, what would you, what advice would you give them?
Well, yeah, I seem to remember the last podcast that we had. I said, look, you are the cavalry. You're the person that's going to make the difference. You need to make a positive decision and then follow it up with action. It's your podcast, but I would recommend your Business Builder. Absolutely, it's got all of the basics to get yourself set up, but then it goes to this is how you can systemize this to be a real business rather than it being something that you're doing on the side as a hobby almost. If you want to be growing it and know how you're going to systematically do that, then your course is definitely the place to come. It avoids you having to do everything yourself and be systematic so that you don't have things slip through your fingers, and the compliance side of things and making sure that you are consistent.
Brilliant. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'll always take a welcome positivity, and of course, what's the word I'm looking for?
A compliment.
Appreciate a compliment. That's it. Yeah, compliment. I'm not used to them, you see, so I forgot the word. But that's brilliant. That's brilliant. No, I'll take the compliment. Thank you very much. I was stuck for words, not like me at all. So once again, Stuart, thank you ever so much for joining us. And it will be interesting to maybe, as I say again, get you on later in the year. Let's see if you've got some more deals, how things are going for you. Also, we can find out how your bike riding sessions have gone as well, because it's great. So thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, then please feel free to subscribe, follow, like, share, leave a 5-star review if you have enjoyed it. And of course, if you know somebody out there who may benefit from listening to Stuart, then do share it with them as well. Feel free to tag me in any posts or anything that you do out there, as I always like to show appreciation for it. I look forward to you joining me in the next episode. You all take care. Keep focusing on that vision. Break it down into goals, into bite-sized tasks, and just take action on them daily. You take care, and bye for now.